Okay, so I want to give a special thanks to everybody who joined us on this Practice Friday. Actually, it's Thursday afternoon, and we've got a really, really interesting conversation teed up today. First time doing this roundtable format, State of the Union for continuous improvement, and really just intended to give us all a snapshot on which way the world is moving and the way companies are thinking about continuous improvement and the energy and excitement from practitioners around CI and maybe get an idea of how the future will unfold for our profession. So, welcome to this event. Let's take a quick look at the agenda for today. All right, so we'll start with some introductions. I'll introduce myself and a little bit about my company, more specifically, Improver University, which is the sponsor for today's event. We'll introduce the panel. We got four very distinguished panelists, and we'll jump into the discussion. During this discussion, this will be the format. So each person has a very unique point of view, perspective from their profession, and we'll kind of lead with the question for that panelist, right? After which, we'll give the other panelists an opportunity to throw in comments, maybe ask follow-up questions, and so forth. Then we'll open it up to the audience to ask questions or add additional comments as well. So while someone is speaking, perhaps you can throw comments in the chat function, and we'll get those incorporated. And we'll maybe leave a quick pause for any additional thoughts from the audience. Then we'll move on to the next panel member and have a conversation around that. So four panel members, four sections of conversation, four kind of leading questions, but this can take a turn for any direction, which is perfectly fine. It should be a good kind of free flowing conversation. Then we'll open it up. We'll probably have some time left over for a roundtable discussion, maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And we'll do a book giveaway after that. I'll give away a copy of my book. So make sure you stick around. Got a fun little game we'll play. And the winner of the game will get a copy of the book sent to their home. We'll finish up with a little Q&A, and then we'll close out. And that'll be today's events. So let's jump into my introduction here. So most of y'all know me. If not, I'll do a quick intro. My name is Calvin Williams. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Improver. We provide software technology. We call it continuous improvement enablement, right? Think of it as your toolkit as a CI leader or director or manager or VP of continuous improvement, so that you can essentially amplify your impact within the company, right? Using AI, using internet, using some of these technologies that are available. We've developed an application that enables you to achieve more and amplify your impact. So my home base is Atlanta, Georgia, but I currently live in a town just west of Santiago, Chile called Algarrobo. And it's right on the coast. Beautiful town, small beach town. It's very cool. My family and I are currently touring through Latin America, and we'll be here for another week or so, and then we'll ship back to Medellin, Colombia, for some time. I've got about 20 years experience working for some great companies, Nestle, Mars, Tyson, A.T. Kearney, Clorox, and so on as a consultant. And lastly, I have a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering, MBA, Lean Six Sigma, Master Black Belt, Amazon best-selling author, 2-year gold status president of Institute of Industrial Engineering in Atlanta. And I guess that's enough about me. So let me get to the good stuff. All right, I said good stuff, but let me first introduce the university, give you guys a sense of what we do here. So the university is a two-part system. And the first part is a community of professionals, continuous improvement professionals. It's a place for us all to gather, share ideas, share learnings, share challenges, and maybe provide each other with help and solutions and those kind of things. So it's a community. On the other side is a learning management system that facilitates Lean Six Sigma certification. So in the university, one can certify from white belt to yellow to green to black to master black belt level. These certification programs are master black belt managed, and we also have a nice technology suite. This is what I call the enablement system or enablement system to not only teach the content and develop people and help them scope and drive projects, but also to improve processes. So at the green belt, black belt, master black belt levels, you'll be actually using Lean Six Sigma tools to drive projects. So all of that's available in the university. And if you have any other questions on that, I'm here to answer those for you. Feel free to reach out. Okay, now let's actually get to the good stuff. I want to introduce the panel here. We've got four highly professional individuals, very distinguished guests that we'll hear from today. We got Mr. Jared Thatcher. He's the host of the Global Lean Summit. I think we've got an event coming up in the next couple months here, Jared. So we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit too. So he's the Continuous Process Improvement Program Manager at the Port of Seattle, and he holds a Lean Bronze certification. We've got Miss Ruth Archer. She's the Director of Continuous Improvement at Michigan Tech University, and she is certified in Lean Six Sigma at the Master Black Belt level. We've got Mr. Troy Wood. He is the President and CEO of the Beneva Group, which focuses on continuous improvement talent and leadership talent. I think Troy would describe it as transformational talent, people who will go in and drive change agent type of talent. We'll hear more from him in just a moment. And last but not least, of course, we got Franco von Einigen. I think I got it right. I've been practicing that, Franco. He is the senior program manager at Broadus and Associates. They help construction companies to implement and apply lean principles in the way they operate as well. So he's also a certified Lean Six Sigma black belt. So, all right. So I'm gonna take this down. Be a second here. And we can jump into our panel discussion. So I want to start with Jared. So Jared, if you're there, unmute your mic and we can begin the conversation. Here's my question to you. Given your work organizing the Global Lean Summit, what changes have you seen in practitioner engagement, energy, enthusiasm over the last few years? I think you've been doing it for at least 3 or 4 years now, right? So what trends are you seeing amongst the community?
So I've been doing this for 6 years. So it started off
6 years.
in
Okay.
2020 as an actual virtual event, which I still run today, which is the Virtual Lean Summit. That's a free event, something I do. It gives back to the community. Um, so it started off as just a way to kind of help out during the COVID lockdowns, and then had a couple of people reach out and say, "Hey, when's the next one?" I was like, "You're lucky to get this one." Um, and then a couple of years later, in 2023, I had Albertsons, which is a grocery store chain, and Costco reach out and say, "Hey, if you did this in person, we would come to it." And I was like, "Cool, let's try it." Um, First one failed miserably, which fail quickly, fail often, and I was done. I was like, I'm not going to lose money on this again. This is done. My wife, on the other hand, said that was an amazing event. You just need help doing it because you can't do your full-time job and do this on the side. So um, she took over the project management. A few months later, she said, "Hey, we're going to be doing the next event in Indiana." I'm like, "We live on the West Coast. Why are we going to Indiana other than it's kind of central in the U.S.?" She's like, "Oh, because I reached out to Toyota and they've agreed to host us for one of the days of the summit." That's pretty cool. So last year we went to just outside Indianapolis. We had this great event. Toyota actually contacted us the day before we went there and said, "Hey, would you guys mind terribly if you stayed an extra couple hours because we want to show you a couple new tools that we've developed and we're using and see what you guys think." And we're like, "Yeah, no problem. We'd be more than happy to do that." So we spent an entire day at their Toyota material handling production plant. This is where they make forklifts, and they're actually the number one producer of forklifts in North America, which I had no idea, but it's pretty cool. And it was fantastic. We got to really do a lot, see a lot. We got to check out their Obeya room. We got to check out their training dojo, and they showed us a few new tools like weak point management. And so it's fantastic. In terms of your question, what are we doing different? I think there's kind of this same old, right? A lot of conferences they'll put out a theme, and then you get a bunch of people say, "Oh, I'd love to speak at that," and then not only sometimes it relates to the theme, sometimes it doesn't, and it's just kind of like a hodgepodge of different people speaking, all different levels, and you come away kind of like, okay, well that was kind of good. It was fun. I maybe learned one or two things, but then really I haven't seen action that comes out of that. I want to do something different because we're all about continuous improvement. So not only do we have an Obey room that we run as part of our summit so that we can continually to get better, but we also do a special event at the end where we bring everybody together. We do that reflection that Hansei to to come up with what are we going to do different next time. What are we going to take from what we learned and saw here and apply it when we go home. And this year we're doing something even different. We're going to continue to do that 30, 60, 90 day with virtual follow-ups to hold people accountable to what they're doing. And so I think that's one of the things I've seen. And from the virtual side, I've been getting a lot more requests for how do we integrate AI? How do we take advantage of all these technologies and use that to make our jobs simpler? You
Mhm.
know, so that's those are kind of I think some of the trends that I'm seeing and trying to stay ahead of things.
So that's key, right? You touched on it before I got to ask. So when it comes to technology, AI is on everybody's mind nowadays, and I imagine that what's happening in Washington is also on everybody's mind in DC with a lot of changes in politics. I know, lean and continuous improvement team, is generally more industry focused, manufacturing specifically. I'm curious to know from you when you're in the room at a conference, are you seeing increasing energy from the room? Are you seeing folks more enthusiastic about continuous improvement? Are you seeing them discouraged? What's the vibe in those spaces?
I mean, it's a mix, right? I mean, there are times where people will go to a session and like really excited about the session, and they walk out kind of like, okay, I didn't learn anything new. There's other times that I'm not talking about necessarily the event that I'm throwing, but I think that's pretty typical, right? And I would say, look, it's not about new. It's about your excitement to take those core principles and really integrate those into your life and use them.
Mm,
I think a lot of people are maybe looking for that, that kind of that magic wand, that that oh, that one tool, that one thing. And lean is not a tool. That's one thing that I think is hard for some people to grasp. Is it's this way of thinking, this methodology. The tools help us get there. The tools help us to, codify our thinking and get us in the direction of what we're trying to achieve, which is the elimination of waste, the increase of value, um, you know, a good process flow optimization with, single piece flow, with, delivering, what's needed, when it's needed, and how it's needed, and the quantity that's needed. Those are the things that we're trying to achieve to increase that flow efficiency. And it's nothing magical. And I think a lot of people
mm,
come, they're looking for those things. What really gets people excited is seeing companies that have actually put it into practice and have had success. So one of the things that we're doing is we're bringing in a lot, go to Toyota, prime example of, what's working. We're also bringing in other, companies from the, chief transformation officer of GE Aviation to the CEO of City Furniture. We're looking, constantly. Last year we had a U.S. Postal Service, come speak to us, and we had the COO of Hoof Automotive out of Germany come. And so we have all of these people that have practical experience, and that's actually what they're looking for. I think a little bit more than the consultants. It's the practical knowledge of what are you doing, how are you applying that, what's working, what's not, and what can I gain and learn from those successes. That's really
mm.
what resonates, I think, most with people.
And especially leaders who are driving continuous improvement, I imagine. So that's interesting. I think that's maybe an age-old problem with continuous improvement and lean. It's one thing to sit in an audience and listen to a speaker and learn concepts, tools, ideas, and so forth. It's another thing to go back to work, dealing with the chaos of day-to-day work and find ways to push that agenda forward and actually apply some of the things you learn right at the conference. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are looking at helping folks make that extra step, right, to actually just start to kind of put the rubber to the road and get benefits. So as we speak, guys, make sure if you got a question or comment, just drop it into the chat. We'll get it worked into the conversation. But in the meantime, Ruth, Troy, and Franco, you guys got any additional context to add to Jared's thoughts there?
Hey Jared, I did have a question real quick. So because I'm always looking at talent, right? So and we work with so many organizations at so many different places within their journey, right? So some are new implementations, some are, I'm a GE guy, right? So some of them are what I'll call them legacy to be polite, right? Um, it seems to me, and I'm in Indy, so I know you guys quite well. And when you came here, I've been trying to get in there. So anyway, we'll talk later. But what are you seeing as far as, and I don't know if you are seeing, so are you seeing when you bring these individuals in, are you seeing things where they're talking about, how are they training up that next generation? How are they promoting them, mentor programs or skills training, right? Things like that. That's we hear that a lot with our client base, and so I wonder if with what you're doing, with the thing here in Indy, are you seeing anything like that? Are there any of those conversations?
Yeah, I mean that's a huge one. How do you train people? How do you get people to think differently, right? I always use the example of when I do my trainings, I have a glass, it's half full, half empty, and I ask people how do you see it? And then I always mention that my son, he says, well, my wife and I are busy arguing, and he's going to drink it because he's an opportunist. But when you become a kind of a lean person and you start thinking in a lean way, you're going to look at that and you're going to start thinking a number of things, right? We have a tendency to jump to conclusions. We should probably ask the individual first, like, what are your intentions? What do you need? What do you see as value? But we're going to look at that and say, well, maybe you're using the wrong size glass. Second thing we're going to think is, well, maybe the filter isn't working, right? And so we have to replace the filter because it's not giving you the water that you want in the speed that you want, and you got bored with waiting for it to fill up. Then we might start asking some questions. We'll go in, we'll ask, what do you need it for? What temperature? If you need it for tea, well, having it in a clear glass is not the way that you want it. You're going to want it in a mug, right? So, those are the type of things that we do in lean is we ask the questions. We really try to understand what is the value, what are we trying to deliver, and trying to your point, how do we train our people to think in a different way? And it's not easy, but what's great is when they start having these epiphany moments, when they start saying, "Oh, I had a success here," and then other people go, "Oh, I can do that same thing." And so that's where daily management really comes in, because as people, if you can get them out of the mundane, oh, this is what I'm doing today, this is what I did yesterday, and that's it. But if you can get them actually, communicating and saying, "Hey, I actually am a little over capacity today. Does anyone have some bandwidth they could help me?" And they start having these conversations. Well, why are you over capacity? What's going on? And then you start problem solving. You start doing those things and taking those offline and fixing things. Create that stop culture of pulling the undone cord when things happen versus letting it always accumulate. When they start having those epiphany moments, that's where it changes. And so yeah, we have had people. We had Hide Oba. He's from Japan. He's consulting out of New York right now, but he came and spoke about how Japanese firms in HR are training their people and what they're doing. So there's a lot of really cool things, techniques out there that we're seeing, and I think part of it is you have to see it and experience it, which is what I love about us going to Toyota there in Columbus, and I'm even running a tour in November to Japan, just to live there and speak the language, and so I'm taking a group of people there, and so that's one of the things that when you really start to understand the culture, you see how a lot of lean principles from Japan, apply. But at the same time, we have a lot of different cultural aspects. And how do we take the things that we're good at, competition, and and how do we use that to benefit and to train our people? Not trying to do it the way the Japanese do it, but how do we use it the way that we do it in our culture? And so I think those are some of the things that we need to work on and change and use a little bit different. Great question, Troy.
I can jump in.
All right.
I love your focus on learning transfer. Like that, so I've done a bunch of reading in that space. Like, how do you go from knowing to doing? right? And that it's it's a more complicated problem than most people even realize. So like, well, just do it. No, there's a lot that's in between there. But one of the things I've come to realize is that it's also way more time intensive on my part, right? So to like teaching a group of people a thing and then following up with them to help them actually get that learning transfer going. And so I was wondering how you've started to think about um, like maximizing the learning transfer while minimizing the kind of time intensive people power that has to go behind it. Any tips or tricks?
Oh, crowdsourcing. Have you heard of that?
Mhm.
Okay. So crowdsourcing is this idea where instead of one person trying to do it, you put the problem out to everybody, and then you have everybody work on the problem. And that's one of the things that we found at last year's summit that was really helpful is as we were having this workshop at the end, people were saying, "Here's a takeaway that I had," and other people were like, "I didn't even hear that takeaway." Wow, and so they were sharing information, they were helping each other, and I think the the takeaways that they got because we actually took that time to basically hold everybody accountable and take that time to reflect on what are the things that you've heard over the last 3 days. That really helped benefit everybody. In fact, I had one person that said, "Hey, after I got back, they laid everybody off, but because I had learned this stuff from Toyota about weak point management, and I had to introduce this to the company, and it made a huge difference on what we were doing. I was pretty much the only one that kept my job. Everyone else lost it." And he was like, "I'm so glad I paid out of my own pocket to come to
Wow.
the event because I was able to take that and actually apply it at work when I got home, and that saved my job."
Yeah,
um,
it's incredible.
which is fantastic. So yeah, I think that ability to share information and collaborate and really take networking, not just, "Hey, nice to see you again, I'll see you next year," but to really have those conversations about what's working for you, what's not, and brainstorm together is huge.
Good stuff, Jared. Appreciate that. You guys got to excuse me. My internet is has not been very cooperative today, so I just dropped off and joined back up. So, in the interest of time, I want to move to Ruth on this one. This is actually a good segue for Ruth. Given your work in higher education, are younger people, and I know you work with the university age, kind of undergrad age, and I think maybe masters as well, level students. Are they seeing lean and continuous improvement as a competitive advantage as they enter the workforce? What trend are you seeing on that front?
Sure. They're definitely seeing uh, groups, like specific sectors of students that are looking for more learning around continuous improvement. And so this is kind of a space where all of you can help. But before I kind of explain that, I want you to just like shut your eyes for a minute and imagine a future where everyone who graduates from university has the basic understanding of continuous improvement. What could that look like for us? So we're a technological university, so we graduate tons of engineers. We also have a healthy pre-science program that we get a lot of people into medical school. One of the most common complaints from colleagues across continuous improvement that I hear is getting the professionals to engage in continuous improvement. And so the what I want to do is teach them about continuous improvement before they become that engineer, before they become that lawyer, before they become that doctor. If we can, I've seen it over and over again. If I can teach them about continuous improvement so that it's part of their being, then when they get out into the world, then of course that doctor is going to join the continuous improvement team because they know how essential their participation is. So it's a challenge for us
Hmm.
to even push it down to K-12, right? I mean, like, let's get them indoctrinated into continuous improvement thinking early on. And so then how does that, what's impacting then the students seeking it out? Well, those students who've had an internship, they're far more likely to look for CI courses if they've had an internship where they've been introduced to continuous improvement. And so that's often in the classes that I teach, and the people that express interest, the students that express interest to me about continuous improvement engagement, the ones that join our student org, they are the ones that are they've had a job, they were introduced to these principles, they loved them, and they want to learn more. So that is very beneficial. On the other hand, most students don't know about it. Most students aren't aware of it at all. And they come to campus and they're surrounded by opportunities and events, and everyone is telling them that this is the thing, this thing is the thing that is the best thing to spend time on for their career. And so as a result, they're like, is it student government? Is it the student newspaper? Is it the American Society of Mechanical Engineers? Is it a fraternity? Is it a sorority, right? So all of these different things. And when I say, no, it's continuous improvement, they're like, I've never even heard of that. Well, they have to make a decision based on what they know. And if they've never heard of continuous improvement, then they're not going to choose that as a way to spend their time. And so that's where the community comes in, because you need to talk to the people that you know about the value of understanding these principles so that when they get to the university and they have these opportunities, they can reach out and grab them.
So first off, Ruth, I love that. That's amazing. In theory, the folks coming through programs like yours are the future leaders of industry, some of them anyway. And we all know the importance of leadership buy-in and leadership support for driving CI culture, right? Second point, I 100% align with you that this should be something worked in the K-12, right? Can we get high schoolers introduced to some, green belt level lean Six Sigma type stuff so that as they grow into their careers, they have that with them. We got a question from Carol. Carol, you want to come off mute and ask the question?
Yeah. Hi, Ruth, fellow
Hi.
Michigander here. I'm the director of OpEx at General Motors. So I have a global team and a couple of things around this education topic. So, absolutely love people that are already coming in with some basic skill sets. We have different programs. So like all of our engineers are required to at least have a green belt within 2 years of a DFSS green belt within 2 years, and a black belt. Can't remember the timing, but my team does all of that education. And then we also have a master black belt. But we have a track program, Ruth, you may be familiar. So when we hire employees out of college, they go through a 2-year track rotation. So whether it's in global purchasing and supply chain, or whether it's in engineering, and what we try to do is grab them early. We do things like we have a thing called Track Tank where we have them compete. We teach them design thinking, and we try to get them on this path of continuous improvement just from the get-go as soon as they're hired in.
That's
and the
amazing.
thing is, if you talk to some of these people that say have been out of track for 5, 6, 7 years, they will tell you that they would not be where they are in the company right now if they wouldn't been engaged in OpEx or our design thinking track tanks and things like that get them into this continuous improvement problem solving mindset. And beyond that, just one more thing on education. We have a program called a Faster Master program for Lean Six Sigma. And we will, if they've come to us from, say, Michigan Tech, and they already have gone through a black belt class, for instance, then all we do is coach them through 3 projects they lead and 3 projects that they coach as a master. And then they get a Faster Master certification. So it grows my team's ability to spread continuous improvement throughout the company. So I just want to, and we have the most of our Faster Masters are in manufacturing. So, we've got these Faster Masters on the floor in all of our sites across North America. And just wanted to share that.
Nice. And industry has a lot of influence on what is happening at universities. And so a lot of our departments have adopted software that that is generally used in industry. So the students are familiar with it when they get to like most industry jobs. And Matt, I'm always like, why doesn't industry, like, we're reinventing the wheel, and every business that's out there is teaching basic continuous improvement. If everyone banded together and said, hey, you university, teach continuous improvement before we get them, then we could do it once and we could get it done earlier, which I think is better for their developing their thinking. And then we can ship them off with this basic knowledge. And so wouldn't that be wonderful?
And Ruth, really quick to that point, um, when well, I would say last year. It was last year. And when I say we collectively in government, reached out to a bunch of, and I created a network when I first started because I realized, hey, when I was in private sector, I couldn't necessarily reach out to, the other truck manufacturers and say, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing things? But when I got into government, it's like, wait a second, I'm not competing with any other government agencies. So I've created this, consortium of a bunch of different, government agencies from around the country. We got together and we did that crowdsourcing where we came up with this idea of putting out there. It was led by the state of Vermont, and we came up with these. I want to say a little bit more than a one pager, but the idea was kind of a one pager of all these different tools that you could use. And then instead of all of us having to like recreate that, we created it together and then shared that with ourselves. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity that government can especially take care of, where it's like, why are we each creating new and different programs where we could collaborate together, especially with technology now and virtual things, we could actually take advantage of the public trust and use that more effectively and efficiently throughout the entire country.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So, Sharvari, you had your hand up for a little bit. Can we, you have a question for Ruth?
Yes, Ruth, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
I really appreciate your insight that that you should develop the continuous improvement initiative as the kids start out. So, do you provide whenever you train people for green belts or for Lean Six Sigma? Do you give them projects, real life projects, so that to apply the tools so that they can understand it more in depth? Because I think learning is not only the way we should also apply it. That's the way you can understand the true meaning of their tools, and they should be also taught what is the meaning of their tools so that it will help them get more interest into that kind of domain for this improvement domain. That's what I think.
Sure. So, one of the things that we do here at the university is that I work across the university. So I work with the administrative side, I work with faculty, and I work with students. And so by doing so, we can actually simulate an immersive environment where they're not just learning the tools in a classroom, but they're practicing them in their jobs and then teaching employees how to use the methods and tools and the lean thinking. When the students are working there, they're actually using them as part of their jobs, right? And so in when I'm teaching the class, I often have the students applying the methods and tools that we're learning to their personal lives or their student organizations or to their student employment.
That's awesome. So, Edge, I see you got your hand up, but I'm actually have to save your question for the Q&A. Just a little bit of time at the end. I want to make sure we get through. Give Troy and Franco a good chance to respond to their parts as well. So, but we should have some time for Q&A toward the end. So let's get through this part first. Troy, you're up now. Given your work in the staffing industry, and I know you work with a lot of CI professionals, a lot of leaders who have a strong lean background, what are some of the changes you're seeing in skills being demanded, scope of work or scope of responsibility, level of authority from continuous improvement professionals? What are some of the things that you're seeing?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Quite a few different changes. We're definitely, and I think some of it's been brought up today, we're definitely seeing a shift in skills and skills being requested of hiring teams with regards to, data, AI, change management, some of those types of pieces. I would say it's interesting. I grew up in the GE Rolls-Royce kind of era, way back when, and so we were very specific around our certifications and things like that, and those pieces, and we still see quite a bit of that. But we also see, I think, the flip side of that, especially when there seems to be a bit of a conversation between Six Sigma and Lean. often in what we hear with people who are building out new programs. Um, and on the lean side, it is very much as to what Jared spoke to earlier. Um, what have you done with it? How have you produced? So let's talk about your projects. What have you implemented? What's working? Where have you failed? Things like that. So we're seeing quite a bit of that, and it's definitely morphed just a bit. So skills are a big piece. The market is still very active. We're seeing, quite a bit of hiring and quite a high expectation of hiring for the next, in the next, 10 years. Many people know that we do a salary survey. As a matter of fact, our current 2025 salary survey is out currently. And from that, we build out a guide that we have. It's available for the community. It's a free tool, a free resource, where we track quite a bit on the talent side of things.
So Edge, I know I see your hand is still up. I promise you first dibs on the next question. Did you have a question for Troy, or are there some other questions out there from other folks?
It is not a question for Troy. So
Okay, all right. So
you could put me into the QA section. I'll
we,
just
we
keep it
got
up
you
there.
in we got you in the queue for the QA section.
Okay.
So Troy, that's really interesting though. And in terms of salaries, do you see salaries keeping up with other jobs, the level of inflation? Are CI salaries increasing? Are companies demanding more, less? What do you see happening on those fronts?
I would tell you, I think for all the numbers that we show an increase in compensation. Levels are very dependent. We've even seen some organizations are being extremely proactive with CI with regards to bonus structures. We've literally seen programs that people's bonuses may be specifically tied to savings or projects
Interesting.
or specific numbers in organizations. But I would tell you that a majority of the people that we place, I mean, everyone's increased. Every placement we've placed, I would say, has increased at least 10%, and typically 15 to 20% from where they're at. There are quite a few people who don't and that's where the market's the competitiveness of the market kind of comes into play. There are organizations who don't understand and don't comprehend where they're at in the market, and they fall a little bit behind. So we've noticed that with our salary guide, a lot of people, they'll call us and say, hey, we see these numbers are a little bit higher than we thought. HR teams will call us often, and so we'll have to help them understand what the market actually is doing.
So Troy, I think the community is working as it should. Carol just posted a message saying that she is hiring, so we may have an opportunity that
There
maybe
you
you
go.
guys can help each other out.
There you go.
Yeah. I have a personal curiosity about compensating CI professionals based on business impact, sort of a
Yeah.
value-based type of compensation model. Is that becoming more
I wouldn't
more
say it's
common?
becoming more, but we've seen it. And it's in so I've been in the talent space for, I'm not going to age myself, but let's say more than 25 plus years, right? And it's one of the only areas outside of, say, a sales organization or an executive organization where we've actually seen that apply. And we've seen it apply. And in certain groups, I would say more progressive groups, they see the value and they understand. And it also depends on the size, and then some clients will come to us and they're trying to be competitive and they can't necessarily get there with a base compensation because a salary, a salary level is only so much, and so sometimes they'll say, hey, we need some assistance, and they'll put some additional pieces in play in order to be competitive in the market.
Man, I can think of some CI roles I held in the past where I would have loved to take a lower salary and a business impact bonus, a higher,
Yeah, yeah,
that seems like a very attractive thing for a CI person, especially one that's good, right? That gets results. Very
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Troy? Anybody? Feel free to come off mute. Maybe raise your hand and then come off mute if you got a question. All right. So we're getting pretty close on time. Oh, Ed, you got a question?
I do actually have a question. Hold on. So I do have a little bit of concern with the idea of the savings bonus. Have you seen uh, have you seen an aspect where that leads to bad behavior, where people just look for big things as opposed to actually focusing on the rocks, the little pebbles,
Mm,
Yeah,
the
I
right
would
thing.
say so. So, prime example, we were working with a large corrugated organization a couple years back, and they had a belt system. Every belt was required a certain amount of hard savings,
hmm
right? And so that's how that group specifically used it. I agree with you. It could be potentially, but you think of, I mean, it happens in sales too, right? It happens in, in every organization where you give a potential for something like that, a performance-based bonus. You're hoping people are doing things the right way for the right reasons. We've not seen it raise its ugly head in this kind of, but again, we don't see a ton of it. We see it when it's, people are trying to be competitive or, kind of
Right.
one-offs. We're not seeing it as a huge, we would like to see a little bit more of it because we saw it extremely successful. So that group, we know they saved 100 and we took them from 13 to 85 people, and they were all black belts and master black belts, and they went from they actually increased their hard cost savings, which we all know hard cost is one thing, but the ripple effect is tremendous. They were at, I think, that group was about 128 million a year in hard cost savings, and so
Mm.
obviously they made it back, but there was emphasis on other pieces as well.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep. And the chat is alive and well for everybody. So there's a whole dialogue happening on that side too. So you guys may want to keep an eye on that too. So on that note, we got our last panelist here, Franco Van Heinigen. Franco, if you're there, you want to come off mute for a second. And my question to you is, given your work advancing lean in construction, I know I've heard a lot about lean or agile in construction. I think there's a movement toward lean in construction. Lean is getting going everywhere, healthcare, education, government, everywhere. What are some of the challenges you see to adoption? I know from my personal experience, when you start talking about lean to a group who's never seen or never done it, there could be a lot of challenges. What are some of the challenges you're seeing?
Yeah, so the project management industry as a whole, and specifically in construction, is a very conservative industry. They rely on what worked yesterday.
Mm,
So so one of the things that I do is I don't tell them that I'm going to do lean or Six Sigma or whatever. I'm just opt an idea that helps them with a subset of their main problem, and then they see results, and then they want to know more about how I saw that while they've been staring at it, for a couple of years, and that has to do with the way your brain works. And I want to do a little test with y'all um, to make my point. So is everybody ready? I
yep.
don't. I want all of you not to think about an elephant.
It's not fair, Franco.
That's the
So not fair.
concept. Because your brain is not capable of a negative statement like that.
Mm,
Because everybody was thinking about an elephant. So, and that is what we call blind spots. So I highlight the blind spots, and then I'm helping them solve those blind spots. Because I think and I'm just saying that works for the people that I work with, either internally, because we do this internally. My company currently is the growth curve looks like this, and we all know that what happens with a plane when that angle stays like that, you're going to stall out. So we have to optimize ourselves internally. But because we're doing that, we're talking process improvement and optimization also when we talk to our client base. And then they want to understand what that is all about and how it goes and what can you do and what can't you do and things like that. So I'm using these blind spots as just a way for me to open a door with them without them telling them that they're going to do lean while they're doing lean. And then the next conversation is about, well, this is an element of the lean concept that I just told you. So they have adopted lean without understanding that they adopted lean. So they can't tell me that they don't like lean because it already worked for them. So I'm like, here's a shiny object, and I'm helping him on the right side. And
Yeah,
it
that's
works
fascinating.
because I'm an electrical engineer. I've done construction, been a customer, been a manufacturer. So I can also tell them that I've sat on their side of the table. And as I told you, that's when I got my Lean Six Sigma black belt, my whole career started to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could put all these elements of my career, which is really, people tell me like, well, it looks like a bowl of Russian soup, right? It's like manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing, security, installation, integrator, MEP consultancy firm. It's all over the place. But now because of that, I can tell people I've been on your side of the table and these things that I'm telling you make sense, and here is why. So
Yeah.
but I'm doing that internally also, like with the people, because
Right.
the first thing that you need to do, because with us it's a lot about processes where there is in people's minds not an actual product. And I heard somebody talk about agile. So I don't have a lot of problems with my IT folks because they understand agile. But if I'm talking to my accounting firm and I talk about lean, they're kind of like, well, that's a manufacturing. I said, no. It's about a product, and your report or your P&L is a product. You need to look at it as a product, and that makes this conversation a little easier to digest for them. And something, the first question that I ask them is that how many hands are touching this piece of paper, and what's the added value that every transaction brings to you? So that's kind of where I start internally. And even with scorecards from construction processes or a 3D model or whatever, we're now looking at it. Okay, let's take one step out of that whole process, and then take
Almost
another
like
one,
the
and take another one.
2 second lead concept. Yeah.
Exactly. So
So so that's fascinating stuff. I don't mean to cut you off.
no.
We do have 7 minutes. We may run a little bit over because I do want to leave some time for Q&A. Your case is interesting because you're driving these concepts, lean, continuous improvement within an agency that serves clients. And of course, that works a lot better when your clients are also thinking lean, right? They have that same mindset.
Yeah, we literally had a call this morning with a customer that had heard us talk about that we're improving and why we are improving, and because we've been growing rapidly over the last 2 years, 3 years, because we've hired more than half the people that we currently have over the last 3 years.
Wow.
So we had to do something. And so whenever we talk about our company to customers, we say, well, we grow rapidly, but here is what we do to maintain the quality. Here's what we do to maintain the culture. And here's what we do to maintain the efficiency. And then they go like, well, tell me a little bit more about the efficiency, because everybody's always interested in, doing it better. And then we say, well, this is what we've done. And say, hey, could you do that? And like I said, we just got a call this morning with a customer and said, I want you to come in and I want you to help us with improve our processes. So we're going to all of a sudden do something completely different.
That's awesome. Let's take one more quick question, and then we'll close it out. So Edge, did you have a question there?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and it might be even a little bit more of a statement, but I'm still wrestling with the fact that there's still this push for the sort of the Six Sigma, belting, things of that nature. Because I look at, an organization like, it's fine to teach tools and stuff, but it's really about, hey, can you actually notice the problem and can you solve it? right? And my experience is that if you give people just the basic concepts, that you can solve 80% of the small little things.
Yeah,
That a
really,
lot of
right.
times we get into these really heavy, and I think that's one of the big dilemmas. And even on the call, we're still calling it Lean Six Sigma, just call it continuous improvement. Like we got to stop this behavior. We are our own worst enemy when it comes to marketing this stuff.
And standardization, right?
Well,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's why I didn't tell the people internally in my company what I was doing.
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just showing an example, and and I keep it as low profile as possible. And they just think it's my idea. So we get it adopted quicker, and B, it makes me look good. So, and I
yeah,
need all the help I can get. So,
yeah, I'm with you there. I use a much simpler concept of just continuous improvement boards, similar to SQDC, but I'm doing them on the non-factories side. And I have an FP&A team that's picked up one. I have a software
yep.
engineering team that's picked up one. I have,
Mhm.
now the library, our company has picked up one. They're like, this makes sense. Why haven't we used this before? And
Yep.
they're banging through problems, each week, which is great. So,
Yep.
Okay, so we're just about out of time. I got something I want to share with y'all, and if y'all, whoever wants to stick around for Q&A after this, we should have some time for that. So, great conversation, though. This is. I knew this was going to be good, but it's actually been a great conversation. So I appreciate the way you guys you're engaging here. So, um, quick ask from us at Improver University. I would love for all of you to go out and sign up for a free account at the university, right? It's university.improver.com. Just by signing up, you actually get access to a white belt program course. It's more than a course, it's a whole program. I think it's 7 or 8 courses. It's about probably just as much, about an hour per course, so about 8 hours of learning material. And the system will actually provide that certification for you as well for those who are interested. And from there, once you're a member, you actually can either upgrade for other benefits. Let's say you want to get certified at a higher level, or you want to you want to participate as an affiliate. You can actually make money with us at Improver and Improver University. So that's available to you. I encourage you all to go sign up, do the white belt, kind of get a sense for how the system works. And then if you want to affiliate or if you want to upgrade, both of those options are available to you. So if you have any questions on that, let me know, let Maria know, and we can get you off and running with that. All right, let's give away a book. Let's see, we're pretty close on time here. All right, we got 3 minutes. We're gonna give away a book. I promise it's gonna take less time than that. And then for those who want to stick around for Q&A, we'll have some time to do that too. So, all right, this is what we're gonna do. I want you guys to, in the chat, give me your best guess to the question that I'm about to ask. And the person who gets closest to the right answer, we're going to send you a free copy of my book, Fit, The Simple Science of Achieving Strategic Goals. Currently maintains a 5.0 on Amazon to this day. And the question is, how many times does the word leadership appear in the book? So if you want to input your best guess in the chat, and let's see who gets the closest to the right answer. We got some answers coming in. Brian says 150. Eric says 215. We were talking about leadership a lot. Maria, 50,000. Maria says 50,000. David says 157. Rob says he can't answer because he won the last raffle. You know what, Rob? You can get the book twice. Why not? Right? Makes for a great Christmas gift. David says 320. Troy says 311. I'll give y'all a hint. There's 60,000 words in the book in total. How many times does the word leadership appear? We got a 73 from Laura. We got a 225 from Franco. Franco, don't you have the book already? I thought you had a copy.
Yeah, but I slept 3 times since I read it. So
You didn't count. You didn't count. You didn't do like a leadership count as you read
no,
through the book and make
no,
a tally board or something like that. None of that. Okay. All
no,
right. Got you.
no. That's my blind spot.
All right. So Maria says at least 6,000 times leadership shows up. All right, so I'm gonna give the right answer. Maria,
All
Maria
right.
Williams, keep me
Yes,
honest. You want to reveal the right answer, and then we can figure out who got the closest.
of course. Oh, the right answer is 80. And Edge got the closest with
Times.
78.
There you go. There you go, Edge. So that congratulations, you're going to receive the best book I ever read, in my humble opinion. And yeah, if you
I'm
want to share
I'm
your
I'm really psyched
what's
about
that?
this. Seriously, I'm really psyched. I had actually put it in my, hey, this is the next thing I should read list. So
Ah, go play the lottery, Edge. And I know, Laura, so close.
You know, I wrote the book and I said to myself, I'm gonna write the best book I ever read. So I try to make it both entertaining and insightful. I think you're gonna get a lot of value from it. So
I
enjoy that,
I
Edge.
appreciate that. All right,
Oh, and take a selfie with it and put it on LinkedIn
I
if you
will
don't
do
mind.
that. No, of
Yeah,
course not.
You too,
good,
Rob.
good. Oh, Rob's reading it now. Awesome. All right, so that's it for that. Thanks everybody. And I know some of y'all are out of time. Totally understandable. Um, Now we could just do a little Q&A. Does anybody else have questions for the panel or each other or improver team or any of the above before I guess we'll take another couple of minutes here. I see that the chat conversation was lively, which is great to see. I may have to try to save this so I can read it later. All right. On that note, like I say, we do events every at least once a month, sometimes more. So stay tuned with us, and we'll try to invite you out for the next one, and just try to keep everybody connected and keep learning and keep growing together. So, other than that, we don't have anything else for today. I really appreciate y'all spending some time with us. Again, if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Also at Improver University. All those are great channels to connect with me and my team here as well. So, other than that, y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all soon.